Elias Rowan had been awake for hours, checking the station's life support systems and scanning the dark void outside the observation window. The station was small, barely clinging to orbit around a dying star, and every day felt like a test of patience. He liked routine, like knowing the hum of the engines and the steady blinking of lights. But tonight that comfort shattered. A cry broke through the quiet, sharp and desperate. It was not human. It was higher, rougher, like metal being pulled through thick air. Elias froze, his hand hovering over the scanner panel. He had trained for emergencies, but this was unlike anything he had ever heard. He leaned closer to the intercom, listening, trying to tell himself it was a system glitch or a recording left from old logs. But no, it was alive, urgent, pleading. He followed the sound down the narrow corridors of the station, past rooms he rarely entered, until he reached the docking bay. There, partially hidden in the shadows of the cargo containers, he saw it, a massive, scaly shape folded low to the floor. At first he thought it was some experimental cargo, but then it moved. Its head lifted slightly and two glowing eyes met his. They were not cold or hostile. They were scared. Beside it, cradled in what looked like impossibly strong claws, was a tiny form. It was a hatchling, smaller than he expected, its wings too delicate for flight. Its chest rose and fell in shallow, uneven breaths. Elias swallowed hard. He had seen humans in critical condition, infants who needed help every second, but this was different. The dragon mother, because there was no other word for her, shifted her massive body, lowering herself closer to the hatchling. The cry returned, a soft, broken sound that seemed to echo in the station's metal walls. Elias felt a chill run down his spine. He had read reports about dragons before, ancient myths that humans had discovered in faraway galaxies, but he had never believed them. Now, staring at one in person, he knew how little humans truly understood the universe. He raised his hand slowly, showing he meant no harm. I'm a medic, he said quietly. I can help. The dragon mother's head tilted slightly, studying him. Then she whispered something. Elias froze. The words were soft, almost like the wind, but clear. He could understand them. Not because of any translator or AI, but because the meaning sank into his mind directly, like a memory being handed to him. Do not be afraid. My child is dying in a way you cannot see. But you can stay. Elias felt his heart race. He wanted to step back, to call for help, to retreat to what he knew was safe. But something in the calm authority of her voice, the way her eyes did not judge or threaten, held him there. He nodded slowly. Okay, I'll stay. She lowered her head closer to the hatchling, and Elias saw the tiny chest heave again. He could see faint pulses of light under the scales, not from any technology but from the life within it. It was weak, fading, and yet, somehow, it clung stubbornly to life. Elias examined the hatchling from a safe distance. Its body was warm but faintly trembling. Its wings twitched occasionally as if trying to stretch. He could measure its pulse, see its faint heartbeat through the scales, but every reading told him the same thing. It was failing, slowly, and nothing he had in the human medical toolkit could fix it. He swallowed. I don't know what to do, he admitted. The dragon mother's eyes softened. You will see. Humans have a way even when they think they do not. You only need to stay with us. Her words puzzled him. Humans had ways, yes, but he had trained for emergencies, infections, and injuries. He had never treated a dragon. He had never even touched one. And yet, when she whispered, he felt a spark of understanding. A faint connection like a thread weaving between them. He crouched carefully, keeping his distance. Can I help feed it? Keep it warm? She tilted her head, considering. Then she nudged the hatchling gently toward him. Its tiny head rested near his hand, scales cool and rough against his skin. Elias's breath caught. He had never felt so small in the presence of something so powerful, so alive. The hatchling gave a weak squeak, a sound that made his chest tighten. He held his hand under it, letting it feel warmth, letting it know someone was there. And as he did, he realized something he hadn't expected. It was responding. Its tiny eyes blinked, focused on him. Its breathing, while still shallow, slowed slightly. The dragon mother watched silently, her tail curled around the hatchling protectively. Then she spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper, yet it rang clear in his mind. Humans were never meant to heal bodies alone. They heal through presence. Through care. Elias's mind struggled with the idea. Heal through presence? It sounded impossible, and yet he could feel it working. Just being there, giving the hatchling attention and warmth, seemed to ease the fear inside it. The station's lights flickered as a reminder of the failing systems, but Elias ignored them. Time stretched, measured only by the soft, uneven breathing of the hatchling and the quiet hum of the dragon mother beside him. He stayed. He held his hand gently. He whispered words of comfort, not knowing if the hatchling understood, but hoping it did. And in that moment he understood why she had whispered to him first. She had not needed his skill with machines or medicine. She had needed his heart. Minutes passed like hours. And then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, the hatchling's chest rose and fell with more strength. Its tiny claws twitched as if testing the air. Elias felt a spark of hope ignite within him, fragile but real. The dragon mother lowered her head, her eyes meeting his. There was no pride, no arrogance, only trust. Elias realized that this was not just about saving one life. It was about connection. About humanity being capable of something even the galaxy had forgotten. Presence, care, and courage to stay when fear whispered to run. For the first time that night, Elias felt calm. He did not know what the next hour would bring, but he knew one thing clearly: he was not leaving. Not now. Not when a life, so small and fragile, depended on him, and when a dragon mother had chosen to trust a human in the darkest corner of the galaxy. Elias stayed still, watching the hatchling's chest rise and fall with more strength than before. The soft glow from its tiny body made the shadows in the docking bay seem less cold. He could feel the quiet presence of the dragon mother beside him, her massive head lowered, eyes never leaving the hatchling. The silence was thick, but it was not empty. There was meaning in it. Something old, something more than fear. Then she spoke again. Her voice was soft, but this time it was different. It carried weight, like centuries of knowledge folded into one moment. Elias felt it touch his mind, not like words in his ears, but like a memory unfolding. Humans forget too much, she said. You think life is only what you see, what you touch. But some things cannot be seen with hands or scanners. Life is not only in breath or blood. Life is in the willingness to stay, even when hope is thin. Elias swallowed. He had trained for years to understand emergencies, to trust logic in machines. He had studied alien life forms, read reports about dragons and their rumored intelligence, but nothing in his education had prepared him for this. For the way her words felt real inside him, like a light pressing on the corners of his mind. What do you mean? He asked softly, not wanting to break the fragile balance of the moment. She lowered her gaze to the hatchling and then back to him. Your species believes in solutions, in tools, in technology. And yes, these have saved many lives. But some beings are older than your tools. Older than your science. They require something more. A human heart. Elias felt a chill. A human heart? Yes, she said, her voice steady, calm, patient. Your child is dying because it does not trust the universe yet. It fears what is beyond it. Your machines cannot fix this. Only presence, only care, only understanding. He frowned, confused. I don't understand. How can humans, help something like this? I'm not even part of its world. The dragon mother's eyes softened. You are part of all worlds. Humans have forgotten this, but you are born with a gift. When you care, when you stay, when you risk comfort for another life, you create space for life to return. You remind beings that they are not alone. Elias looked down at the hatchling again. Its tiny wings twitched slightly, almost like it was trying to reach him. Its eyes, half closed, seemed to focus on him with faint trust. He realized that for the first time he felt connected, not just to the hatchling but to something larger, something that stretched across time and space. You mean, I can help it by being here? He asked, voice barely more than a whisper. Yes, she said. Stay. Speak softly. Let it know you do not abandon it. Your presence is medicine. Your patience is a shield. And your heart is the bridge. He took a deep breath and nodded, slowly letting his hands hover over the hatchling. He felt warmth spreading from his chest down to his fingers. He did not need to touch it yet. Just staying close, breathing quietly was enough for now. The dragon mother shifted slightly, curling her tail protectively around them. There are things about your kind that other beings do not see. You carry hope in ways that cannot be measured, cannot be calculated. You are small, fragile, and yet, you are powerful. Because you choose to care when fear is louder than reason. Elias thought about that. Humans had explored stars, fought wars, built machines faster than thought itself. But it was true, so often the most important moments were not in science or machines. They were in choices. Small, quiet choices. Moments when someone stayed, when someone reached out, when someone believed in life even when all signs said otherwise. He felt a sudden weight of responsibility. He had always wanted to help people, to save lives, but this was more. This was an entire species child, a being unlike anything humans had ever fully understood. And yet, the dragon had trusted him. She had chosen him for this moment. He leaned slightly closer, speaking softly. "I'll stay. I'll do whatever I can." The dragon mother nodded slowly, almost imperceptibly. Then she whispered again, words that sank deep into his mind. "Remember, Elias Rowan, fear is older than knowledge, but trust is older than fear. Show your trust and life will respond." He stared at her, absorbing the meaning. She was not just talking about the hatchling. She was talking about all life, all humans, all choices. And he understood in that quiet moment that she was offering more than guidance. She was giving him a chance to see humans the way dragons had always seen them, capable of something beyond reason, beyond science, beyond survival. Elias felt the hatchling's small body shift slightly in his direction. Its tiny head pressed closer, and for the first time it seemed to breathe easier. He realized that even the smallest act of care mattered. Even the smallest connection could change the outcome of life. Hours passed. He stayed close, whispering soft words of encouragement, singing quietly, letting his warmth surround the tiny creature. The dragon mother did not speak again, but her presence was constant, steady, like a silent guard. And slowly, with each heartbeat, with each breath, the hatchling began to respond. Its chest rose more steadily. Its tiny claws flexed with strength it had not shown before. Elias leaned back slightly, amazed. "It's working," he said softly. The dragon mother's eyes met his. She did not smile, but he felt a quiet approval in her gaze. "You see now," she said. "You are part of the solution. Your kind is remembered for more than what you build or destroy. You are remembered for your courage to stay. This is how humans can heal worlds." Elias nodded, understanding more than words could fully explain. The cry that had cut through the station hours ago had not been a call of fear alone. It had been a call for trust, for care, for the courage to act when the universe seemed too large, too old, too indifferent. And he had answered. For the first time that night, the darkness of the docking bay felt less heavy. For the first time he understood a truth older than fear itself. Humans were small, fragile, and yet they could bring life back from the edge of death. Not through tools, not through weapons, but simply by being present. Elias Rowan stayed and the hatchling lived. Elias Rowan sat quietly beside the hatchling, his hand resting near its tiny chest, feeling the faint pulse of life. The dragon mother, Valith, watched him closely, her eyes calm and unblinking. Hours had passed, yet neither Elias nor the dragon had moved. The station's hum was the only sound, broken occasionally by the hatchling's weak squeaks. Elias had learned something profound: presence mattered more than machines. He had spoken softly, offered warmth, and stayed without fear. And slowly the hatchling had begun to respond. But he knew patience alone would not be enough. Its life was fragile and he could feel that time was slipping away. He stood and stretched, scanning the small medical supplies he had brought. Human tools could not heal a dragon in the usual way, but maybe there was a way to combine human knowledge with what he had learned from Valith. His mind raced. He remembered her words, "Humans heal through presence. Your heart is the bridge." Perhaps that bridge could be strengthened with something physical, too. Elias opened a small medkit and pulled out a warming gel and some gentle stimulants used for newborn humans. He set them near the hatchling without touching it, watching for Valith's reaction. The dragon mother tilted her head slightly but made no move to stop him. Elias took a deep breath. He had to make a choice. He could follow protocol and call for help, leaving the hatchling in human hands, or he could try something risky, combining human care with dragon intuition. "I have to try," he whispered to himself. "No one else can do this. It's on me." He carefully reached out, letting the hatchling feel the warmth of his hands. He applied the gel slowly, speaking soft words, describing everything he was doing. The hatchling shivered at first, then settled slightly against his warmth. Elias felt hope, fragile but real, building in the small movements of its chest. Valith watched silently, her massive head lowering closer to the hatchling. She whispered something in her language, low and melodic, that Elias could not understand fully, but he felt its effect. The hatchling's wings twitched in response, as if recognizing a rhythm it had known before birth. Elias realized that the dragon mother was guiding him without telling him what to do. She had shown him the way, trusting him to make the choice no one else would. He felt a weight of responsibility settle over him. This was not just a medical procedure. This was a partnership between human and dragon, one that had never been attempted before. He adjusted his hands, keeping a gentle pressure around the hatchling's chest, letting the warmth of his presence flow through the scales. The small creature's breathing deepened, no longer shallow and broken. Elias whispered encouragement, words he had never thought would matter so much. "You're safe. You're strong. I'm here." Minutes passed. The hatchling's small eyes opened slightly, focusing on Elias. Its tiny claws pressed against his hand, almost as if testing his trust. He felt a spark of joy. The creature was alive, responding not to medicine alone, but to care and connection. Valeth spoke again in her soft, ancient voice, this time directly in human language. "You see now, Elias? This is how we survive together. You chose to stay. You chose to act. That is the choice no one expected." Elias nodded, understanding. Humans were often expected to solve problems with technology or force. But here, in this quiet station orbiting a dying star, the choice that mattered was simple and small. To care, to risk comfort for another life, to trust in something older than reason. He continued his gentle work, adjusting his position so that the hatchling could rest comfortably, breathing steadily. Valeth lowered her head, letting him work without interference. The warmth of the dragon radiated softly, blending with his own. Elias realized that he had never felt more connected to another living being. It was not just empathy. It was partnership. Suddenly, the hatchling made a small, chirping sound. Its wings stretched slightly, tiny muscles moving as if testing strength it did not have before. Elias's heart leapt. He looked at Valeth, who nodded slowly. "It responds to humans," she said. "That is your gift. Your presence gave it courage to return." Elias felt a deep sense of wonder. He had always believed that humans were limited by their size, their fragility, their short lives compared to other species. But here he realized humans had something unique, the ability to bridge worlds, to offer trust and courage where others could only measure fear. He spoke softly to the hatchling, telling it stories of the human worlds beyond the stars. He described small things: a sunrise over a quiet farm, children laughing on Earth, ships gliding silently through the void. The hatchling listened, its chest rising with stronger breaths, its tiny eyes fixed on him as if absorbing every word. Valeth watched, her expression calm but approving. "You have chosen wisely, Elias. The galaxy will remember this moment, though it may not know why. Trust and care are as powerful as any weapon or tool." Elias smiled faintly, still cautious but full of hope. I never imagined this would work," he admitted. She nodded. "Neither did I. That is why it is rare. Most beings would leave, call for help, or follow fear. But you chose otherwise. That is the difference." Hours passed, and the hatchling's strength continued to grow. Its wings flapped slightly, small motions that promised flight in the future. Elias kept talking, kept holding, kept sharing warmth and presence. And with every heartbeat, he understood that this was more than saving a single life. It was showing a dragon, an entire species, that humans could be allies in ways no one had believed possible. Finally he leaned back, exhausted but happy. The hatchling rested peacefully, breathing evenly. Valeth's eyes met his, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. Elias realized that he had made the choice no one expected, not because it was smart or safe or required by rules, but because it was the right thing to do. In that quiet station, orbiting a dying star, human and dragon had created a small miracle together. The hatchling was alive, stronger, and beginning to trust. And Elias knew that the path ahead would be long and uncertain, but for the first time he understood something profound. Courage was not about fighting. Courage was about staying, caring, and believing when all signs said to leave. Elias Rowan sat in the observation room of the station, watching the stars stretch endlessly beyond the reinforced glass. The hatchling had grown slightly stronger in the last few days. Its wings were flapping a little more confidently, its breathing steady, and it had begun to make small, curious noises. Elias could feel Valeth's presence beside him even without looking. The dragon mother was calm now, watching, waiting, and trusting him completely. The station sensors beeped quietly, recording everything, but the data meant little to most humans. Machines could measure temperature, heart rate, and motion, but they could not measure trust, courage, or care. Elias realized that this moment, these hours, would never appear in normal reports. No one outside would understand the quiet miracle unfolding in this small orbiting station. He walked over to the hatchling carefully, letting it smell his hand before he touched it. It responded almost immediately, pressing its tiny head against his palm. The bond was growing, stronger than he had imagined. It was more than survival. It was connection. And Elias knew that this connection had a meaning no scanner could record, no report could convey. Valeth moved closer, her massive head brushing against the station walls, careful not to harm anything. She spoke in the soft language Elias had begun to understand. You have shown patience, care, and courage. These are not qualities humans are always remembered for, yet they are what will change the galaxy if you carry them. Elias nodded, unsure if he deserved such praise. I'm just staying, he said. I don't feel like a hero. I'm just doing what seems right. You are more than you know, Valeth replied. Others would leave, would fear, would calculate and avoid risk. You stayed. That is why life returns. The hatchling chirped and nudged his hand. Elias smiled. He began gently lifting the tiny creature onto a soft mat, letting it stretch its small wings. You're getting stronger, he whispered. Soon you'll be able to move around more. Valetha's eyes followed every movement, serene but focused. It will adapt quickly. It trusts humans now. That is rare. That is what the galaxy does not know. Elias looked at her, curious. What do you mean? Your kind is underestimated, she said. Humans are seen as fragile, weak, limited. But you have something that others forget. The ability to care deeply, to risk yourself for another, to create connection across species. The galaxy measures power with weapons, speed, and size. It does not measure what matters most. Elias thought about that. Humans had colonized stars, built ships faster than thought, and explored countless systems. But he realized now that the real strength had always been quiet. It was in staying when leaving was easier. In helping when no one else would. In believing in life when life seemed impossible. He sat next to the hatchling, letting it rest its head on his arm. So, the galaxy will never know, he said softly. Even if this hatchling survives, no one will see the work we did here. Valeth lowered her head, brushing her massive snout against the station's floor. Perhaps. But it will matter anyway. This hatchling will live, grow, and learn. It will carry the memory of humans' care into the future. And through that, your actions will spread further than any report, further than any machine can measure. Elias felt a strange warmth in his chest. The station felt less like a lonely outpost and more like a small universe where possibilities could begin. I never thought my choices could mean that much, he admitted. They do, Valeth replied. And they will again. Remember, Elias, humans have the ability to teach life to trust when others only teach fear. That is what the galaxy has forgotten. He looked at the hatchling, now flapping its wings slightly, its eyes bright and curious. You'll show them, he whispered. You'll show the galaxy that care matters. Valeth nodded slowly. And they will remember even if humans are not credited. The truth of your kind is older than wars, older than technology. Your species is remembered for connection. You are capable of creating trust where none exists. That is what the galaxy does not see. Elias thought of the countless systems he had passed, the records of battles, discoveries, and inventions. None of them measured human courage the way Valeth did. And yet, here in the quiet station, it mattered more than all the stars he had seen. The hatchling made a small, chirping sound and nudged him again. Elias smiled, careful not to move too quickly. You'll be okay, he whispered. You have your mother and you have me. We'll keep you safe. Valeth spoke again, her voice low but firm. Safety is important, but survival alone is not enough. Life requires trust, and you have built that for this child. That is why it lives now, and that is why it will grow to remember humans in ways the galaxy cannot measure. Elias thought of the future. The hatchling would leave this station eventually, explore the stars, and meet other creatures. Its memory of humans' care would shape its choices, its trust, and perhaps even the way dragons interacted with other species. A small act of patience and courage here could ripple across systems in ways no one could predict. He leaned back, exhausted but filled with quiet joy. The hatchling slept lightly, wings twitching, and Valeth rested her massive head on the floor, keeping watch. The station was still and calm, the distant stars shining coldly, indifferent to life within the small orbiting structure. And yet, Elias knew that life mattered more than any star or machine. Humans' ability to care, to connect, to risk for another, had changed the course of this hatchling's life. That truth, though hidden, would live on. He whispered softly to the hatchling before standing. The galaxy may never know what we did here. But you will. And that is enough. Valeth gave a low, approving rumble. Yes, Elias. That is enough. Trust and care are stronger than any weapon or rule. That is what humans teach even when the galaxy forgets. Elias watched as the hatchling stretched its wings one last time for the night, tiny claws brushing his arm. He knew that tomorrow would bring more challenges, more lessons, and more choices. But for now, the station was quiet, life was strong, and the galaxy, though unaware, had already been changed in a small but important way. Elias Rowan stood at the edge of the observation deck, watching the stars drift silently beyond the station. The hatchling, now stronger and more confident, flapped its wings with ease, its small body glowing faintly in the station's soft lights. Valith, the dragon mother, rested beside it, massive but calm, her eyes following every tiny movement of her child. Years had passed since the first night Elias had stayed with the hatchling, when its life had hung by a thread. In that time he had learned much about patience, about trust, and about the quiet courage humans carried in their hearts. And the hatchling had grown too, not only in size and strength but in awareness, curiosity, and confidence. The young dragon chirped and nudged Elias's hand, and he smiled. He could see a spark in its eyes, a recognition, a memory of all that had been done for it. It trusted him fully, and he trusted it in return. The bond they had formed was stronger than fear, stronger than rules or logic. It was a bond built on presence, patience, and care. Valith nudged the hatchling gently, sending it towards the open observation window. The young dragon looked at the void beyond, wings flaring slightly, and then turned its gaze back to Elias. It seemed to understand something he could only feel, that the universe was vast and that life was fragile, but that connection could change everything. "You have grown strong," Elias said softly. "And soon you'll explore the stars. You'll see worlds humans have never dreamed of. You'll teach others what it means to trust." The hatchling chirped in response, tiny claws brushing his arm. Elias felt a rush of hope. The creature had learned not just to survive but to thrive, and that lesson came from more than food or warmth. It had learned from care, from patience, from a human who had chosen to stay when leaving would have been easier. Valith's eyes met his. "Do you understand now?" she asked. "Your presence has done more than save one life. You have reminded a species that humans are not just explorers or builders or warriors. Humans are capable of something the galaxy forgets: courage to care when no one else will." Elias nodded, understanding in a deep, quiet way. "I think I do," he said. "It's not about what we build or what we destroy. It's about what we give. Even small acts, they can change everything." "Exactly," Valith said. "And that is the whisper that changes everything. You, Elias, and your kind remind life that hope is stronger than fear." The hatchling flapped its wings, making small circles in the air. Its movements were playful yet careful, as if testing the limits of the world. Elias reached out, letting its tiny claws brush his palm. The dragon looked at him, eyes bright, as if remembering the first night when it had been weak and frightened. "You'll carry this with you," Elias said softly. "Everywhere you go you'll remember humans' care. That trust we shared, it will spread farther than we can see." Valith lowered her massive head and rumbled softly. "It will. And the galaxy will learn, in time, that humans are not defined by their weapons or ships. They are defined by their courage to remain, to care, to create trust." Elias felt a quiet pride. He had never wanted recognition. He had only wanted to do what was right. And now, looking at the hatchling, he understood that right choices could echo far beyond a single moment. They could change the course of a life, a species, and maybe even the understanding of the galaxy itself. The young dragon chirped again, this time moving closer to the observation window, wings stretching fully. It gazed at the stars with fascination, and Elias knew that it would fly someday, carry lessons of trust and care to worlds humans had never reached. It would remember him, and in its memory humans would be seen differently. Not as weak, not as fragile, but as beings capable of courage, care, and connection. "You're ready," Elias said softly, his voice almost trembling. "Go on. Explore. Learn. And remember what you have been given." The hatchling let out a soft cry, wings beating strongly now. It lifted slightly, hovering in the air, and then glided toward the station's open exit bay. Valith followed, guarding it as it stretched into the void. Elias watched, heart full, as the hatchling disappeared into the stars, carrying the trust they had built together. The station felt quiet after it left, almost empty. Yet Elias did not feel lonely. He knew the ripple of what had been done here would travel farther than anyone could measure. Trust, care, presence, these were stronger than any weapon or technology. They were what could change worlds. Valith lowered her head beside him, resting it on the floor. "You have done well, Elias. The galaxy will not forget, even if it does not know your name. The whisper of care, the courage to remain, that is what life remembers." Elias nodded, looking out at the stars. He thought of all the humans who had come before him, who had cared quietly, bravely, without recognition. And he thought of all the humans yet to come, who might one day show the galaxy that the greatest power was not destruction, but connection. "You're right," he whispered. Even if the galaxy doesn't see us, it will feel us. Vailitha's eyes softened, almost like a smile. She nudged the floor gently with her massive snout. And that is enough. That is always enough. Elias stayed at the observation window for a long time, watching the stars drift by. He knew that somewhere out there the hatchling would remember, and in its actions humans' courage would spread. The galaxy would learn, quietly and slowly, that humans were capable of more than anyone had imagined. And for Elias, that was all the recognition he needed. He had stayed when it mattered. He had given care when others would have fled. And because of that, a small life had survived, and the galaxy had been changed one whisper at a time. He whispered softly to the empty room as if speaking to the stars themselves, "We are capable of hope. We are capable of trust. And that can change everything."